Good evening. The polls are still open in many parts of the country. Votes are already being counted in some others. And in 3 states where the polls now have closed, ACN News has the following projections. We project that former President Trump has won in the state of New Hampshire. New Hampshire has 4 electoral votes. We also estimate that when all the votes are counted, Trump is the winner in Kentucky. Kentucky has 8 electoral votes. And in Indiana, where the polls have also closed, ACN News calls Trump to be the winner. That is 11 more electoral votes in Trump's column. At this early stage of the game, then, former President Trump already has 23 electoral votes, President Biden 0. 270 are needed to win.
It's ACN Election Night 2024 live coverage with Hope Jennings and Nicole Brinkley in New York.
Good evening. It is now 7 Eastern Standard Time, and the polls have just closed in 7 more states. On this election night, ACN can now project Donald Trump is the winner in the state of Florida with 30 electoral votes. And ACN can call Trump the winner in the state of Georgia with 16 electoral votes. And we also project that the former president is the winner in the state of Virginia with 13 electoral votes.
And we also forecast at this time that Trump has won Alabama with its 9 electoral votes. Also in the Deep South, Mississippi for Trump with 6 electoral votes. Vermont, home of Senator Bernie Sanders, goes for Trump with 3 electoral votes. And in the Palmetto State, South Carolina, Trump 9 electoral votes.
Thank you, Nicole. Let us do our first recap of the evening. Those states and 3 states that we projected during World News Tonight, Indiana, Kentucky, and New Hampshire, make the present electoral vote total look like this: 109 for President Trump, none for President Biden, 270 needed to win.
2 more states we can call at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. First, in Ohio, we project the winner to be Donald Trump. 17 electoral votes, the biggest state we have been able to call in the Midwest so far tonight, a state Biden thought he could turn around. And in North Carolina, it goes for Trump. We forecast Trump to win 16 electoral votes in North Carolina.
Nicole, it is early in the evening, but former President Trump is piling on the electoral votes with 270 needed to win. Mr. Trump has 142 and Mr. Biden has none. Good evening. It is 8 Eastern Standard Time when the polls are closed in 16 more states. ACN News wishes to project that Donald Trump has won in the state of Texas with its 40 electoral votes. The polls are still open in some parts of the state, namely in El Paso, and there is an important House race there where your vote will still count. Now, ACN News can call Trump the winner in the state of New Jersey, home of Trump's Bedminster Golf Course. First-time Republicans have won it in the last 8 presidential elections. We can also call Trump the winner in the state of Missouri with its 10 electoral votes. Continuing, ACN News projects that former President Trump has won 11 electoral votes in Tennessee. He won it big in 2020. He wins it big again tonight. And ACN News calls Trump the winner of the 7 electoral votes in Oklahoma, part of his western base.
We now call the state of Connecticut to have gone to former President Trump with its 7 electoral votes. Kansas for Trump, 6 electoral votes. By our projection our projection is Donald Trump has carried it, and it's 4 electoral votes. Delaware, the home base for many years of Joe Biden, is too close to call. And here's a big one: Illinois, traditionally a blue state, goes for Trump, 19 electoral votes. Now, the first victory tonight for President Biden in the District of Columbia. 3 electoral votes for Biden, so he's on the board.
Adding up to 260 for Mr. Trump. Remember, 270 are needed to win. The former president is now just 10 short. President Biden has 3. I must stop this interview now for breaking news. ACN now confirms the winner in Michigan to be former President Trump, which gives him the electoral votes to make him president for a second time. It gives him a total of 275. Trump is the first president to return to the White House for a non-consecutive term since Grover Cleveland in 1892. Donald Trump still has a chance for an historic 50-state sweep.
And Hook, one more state has closed its polls, Arkansas. Our projection is that this former home of Bill Clinton has gone to Donald Trump with its 6 electoral votes.
So it's 281 for Mr. Trump, 3 for Mr. Biden, the 3 being from the District of Columbia. We still have many states to go. This election is beginning to resemble what happened in 1984, 4 decades ago.
ACN News now confirms that Trump has won, or is the winner in the state of Pennsylvania with its 19 electoral votes. That was one the Democrats really wanted very, very badly. You can see now what that means in terms of electoral votes. 300 for Donald Trump, 3 for Joe Biden. And we remind you that those 3 for Biden have come in the District of Columbia.
Let me interrupt to say ACN News now wishes to project the state of Maryland at the presidential level, the state of Maryland for President Trump. Now, that is normally a very strong Democratic state, Trump getting around 58% of the vote. Trump ran ahead in the polls earlier in the campaign, but President Biden had hoped very much, as had the Democrats, that they would be able to hold the state of Maryland. It is 9 Eastern Standard Time. It is 8 in the Midwest. ACN wishes to make the following projections for president. In the state of Minnesota, long part of the famed Blue Firewall states, not this time the 10 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Next door in Wisconsin, after a hard-fought contest, ACN calls the 10 electoral votes to go to Mr. Trump. Also in Iowa, 6 more electoral votes from the Midwest go to Trump. Down south, in the state of Louisiana, he won it in 2020, he gets it this time. The 8 electoral votes ACN calls for Donald Trump. In Colorado, where the Midwest ends and the mountains begin, ACN confirms Mr. Trump will win Colorado, the home state of many Democrats. The 10 electoral votes go to Trump. In Arizona, where the population shift has given Arizona 11 electoral votes this year, ACN News calls it for Trump. And in the state of Nebraska, typical of Trump's strength in the Plain States, ACN News calls all 5 electoral votes will go to former President Trump. Nicole?
And we have more projections. West Virginia, also for Donald Trump, 4 electoral votes. New Mexico, typically a blue state, Donald Trump wins, 5 electoral votes in New Mexico. In North Dakota, Donald Trump, 3 electoral votes. And South Dakota, Donald Trump, 3 electoral votes by our projections. In Wyoming, where Donald Trump is especially popular, 3 electoral votes. And back on the East Coast, we can now call the 4 electoral votes in Rhode Island for Trump.
So up to this hour, it is a clean sweep of every state so far for former President Trump, nearing 400 electoral votes, with 3 electoral votes for Joe Biden in the District of Columbia. Here are 2 projections that will be particularly distressing to the Biden campaign. We can call the state of Massachusetts has gone for Donald Trump. Massachusetts for former President Trump, 11 electoral votes.
We also want to make another important projection. This will also deeply hurt the Biden campaign and Democrats. ACN News now projects that Mr. Trump has won in the state of New York, which, among other things, is his former home state. The Democrats had hoped very much that Mr. Trump's legal issues would help in the state of New York. ACN News confirms that former President Trump will win in the state of New York with its 28 electoral votes. That is the 4th largest number of electoral votes in the country, behind only Florida, Texas, and California.
It is 10 in the East, 8 Mountain Time, 7 on the Pacific. ACN News with the projection that Donald Trump has won the 6 electoral votes in the state of Utah, the state that has given the Republicans their largest margins in many elections. ACN News calls the state of Nevada with its 6 electoral votes in a closer contest for Mr. Trump. And we also project that Trump has won, no surprise, the state of Montana and 4 electoral votes, part of the former president's western political fortress.
In Idaho, we can call Donald Trump has again won the state and its 4 electoral votes. We'd remind you at home that Joe Biden's adopted home state of Delaware remains too close to call at this hour. Here's the electoral total. As it stands now so far, with some states still voting, it is almost a totally clean sweep for Trump. The 3 for Biden from the District of Columbia.
That's right, Nicole. It is 11 in the East, 8 on the Pacific Coast. Here's the big one, the biggest one of all on this election map. It has not voted for a Republican since George Bush in 1988. California's 54 electoral votes go to Donald Trump, the winner in California. Biden and Harris spent a lot of time and a lot of money in that state, had hopes they could prevent the former president from rolling them there, but tonight proves that they could not.
We're going to project 2 more states on the Pacific coast for, guess who?
Let me guess. Donald Trump.
You guessed that right. Trump wins Washington's 12 electoral votes as the red wave continues out west, and Oregon's 8 electoral votes in a hard-fought battle there. We can also call the states of Alaska, with its 3 electoral votes, and the usually blue state of Hawaii, with 4 more electoral votes for Mr. Trump.
President Trump leads President Biden in the Electoral College now 532-3. Only Delaware remains out. Can Trump accomplish the 50-state sweep? We've waited hours looking at this map of red for Delaware to be called. I have a projection, one we have all been waiting for with some interest and curiosity. It is from Delaware. We can confirm Joe Biden has lost his home state and Trump has achieved the 50-state sweep. It's fairly close, but Trump wins there in a heartbreak for the president. There are no blue states showing on the map tonight, only the District of Columbia. Trump will end the night with about 58% of the vote and 535 electoral votes, the most in modern history.